Hi, happy Wednesday. I'm just gonna have a ramble. I was just outside in the sun, it's so hot, and then I just got a bit of free time and I was like, go on, just go and have a ramble, because there's been a few things on my mind in the last few days and I need to unravel it. And it's probably not going to make sense to anyone because it's barely making sense to me, but some bits are wanting to be weaved together, you know, in the grand scheme of things, and so I just need to say a few things. And then, you know what happens, you know. Somebody else picks up on bits and puts other bits of the puzzle together. So, I found some of my old notebooks because I get into these little flows. I get into these little zones, or these rabbit holes even. I hope I can concentrate because the frequency in here is horrible. Electronical, you know, like that high pitched. But there's a laptop and all sorts of electronics and shit switched on, and I've got my phone plugged in, and there's a big light. So anyway, yeah, I got myself down these little rabbit holes, or little peaks of interest, and so I was looking through all my shit. I've not looked through enough, but I found a couple of little bits from when I was having a nosy, you know, continuing my nosy into the rhesus negative and positive blood type ponders, you know. And I did a video a few months ago. It was just when this shit was starting, this coronavirus shit, and I was pondering how I'd heard some people talking about how they'd seen these studies, and they were small studies, but they were sort of suggesting in these studies that rhesus negative people might be resistant, not immune, but resistant to certain viruses. I look like shit. Lockdown chic, you know. Look at my, mind you, my hair always looks like shit. So not immune but resistant to certain viruses, you know, HIV, Ebola, shit like that, SARS. So anyway, I was pondering how, you know, potentially we might have a different waste removal system or a different way of managing toxins, because you know, I was looking at the different blood cells, you know, and the membranes around them, and the antibodies and the antigens that are attached to the different blood groups, you know, AB, and O, and then obviously the negatives. And I did a video about it. I might put a couple of little pictures up in here anyway. But what was piquing my interest was, you know, the fact that it's the antibodies and the antigens, isn't it, that that protect our cells, you know, that fight off viruses. So I was just pondering, you know, whether they've got it's a fucking microphone, I've been painting. We went for a walk in the woods. It was so nice, me and the kids, and I'm saying woods, it's like, you know, a patch of woods just across the road. And there were some gnomes out, and the kids had gone for a walk with their dad yesterday, and they come back talking about gnomes, and I thought they were just, you know, make-believing and, you know, imagining, because like I'm always like, can you see any fairies or whatever? So I didn't think any more of it. And anyway, as I walked into the entrance, this old woman said, hello, what are you doing? So I was like, looking for gnomes. And she went, oh yes, there's lots around there. And I thought, she is fucking batshit crazy. Like, so I was just being nice and human her. I went, right. And she went, take any you want. They were my next door neighbours, but he had too many. So I'm like, she's off a fucking rocker, you know. What they spraying in chemis. And anyway, she said, you can have as many as you want. So I got the kids to say thanks. And then we carried on walking, and we found these gnomes that the kids had seen yesterday, obviously. They were probably thinking, I must be a daft cow. But anyway, yeah, and there were the 7 little dwarves, sorry, you know, from Snow White. And I didn't want to take them all because I wanted to leave some for, you know, all the kids and whatever. But they were quite persistent, the kids. And on the way back, you know, we cracked one by accident, so we picked up another 2. So we've been painting them out in the back garden, and it's just so much fun. Anyway, 444, fuck me, the number synchronicities are wild. I have this little clock on the oven, a digital clock, you know, And every fucking time I look at that bastard clock or walk into that room, or, you know, I must do it once an hour, because it's like, it's the repeating numbers. It's, you know, if in the morning it'll be 0707, 1111, and we'll get 1414, 1550, 66, all the way up to the time I go to bed, and it's like a running joke. But anyway, not always, you know, but sort of like a high percentage at the moment, like 95% of the time, I'd say. Or not, maybe a bit lower. Anyhow, what the fuck was I banging on about? Right. I'm just going to bang into it, and it's not going to make sense, blah, blah. So I was pondering the different waste removal systems, and I was looking into, as much as I could, try and retain, because I have a tendency to just read shit, think I understand it, and then it disappears when I'm questioned on it or pulled up on it, and I'm like, oh, you know, I can never pull the shit out, and I need to, and it pisses me off. But anyway, so I was trying to understand a little bit more about the differences in the blood types, and I was pondering these different things, right? And I was talking about AB negative plasma, and, you know, the O negative universal blood, and I was pondering a few different things, blah blah. So anyway, you know, like, it's like iron-based blood, and people say rhesus negative are copper-based blood, you know, blue bloods. But it's hemoglobin is the protein that makes the blood red. And, you know, we need iron. Iron's the atom, apparently, that's used, you know, to assist the transmission of oxygen. So it's interesting with these, you know, these symptoms of this virus at the moment, you know, that they seem to be attacking the lungs. And interestingly enough, one of my favourite people to listen to, Adrienne Lees, she has a second channel called True Awakening, where she goes a bit deeper into, you know, conspiracy stuff. And, well, truth, you know, you searching for the truth through the shit, you know. I guess we've all got our different lenses on and whatnot. So I listened to her, and she was talking about how this Dr. Fauci guy in America, I guess he's one of Trump's right-hand guys or whatever, but he's got this patent, GP120. It's a patent for a glycoprotein, which essentially attacks the iron atom. And so anyway, so I was like, I wanted to know a little bit more about the hemoglobin, because obviously that's where the iron is. So I was looking at the hemoglobin structures, and it's obviously it's protein, so it's made up of these 4 subsets of different proteins. I don't know what the fuck they're called. Let's have a look. 4 globular protein subunits, each with 1 molecule of heme, which looks like a pretzel, you know, like a sequence of, you know, like a, oh my god. Anyway, and each heme contains 1 iron atom. So from looking at this 3D structure thing that I looked at, it looked like there were 4 iron atoms inside every, you know, the hemoglobin structure of the red blood cell. And it's like presence of iron, which is Fe, which I really like as well, OBS. You know, the fucking hell, all I can hear is buzzing. Presence of iron, the Fe atom in a heme group, is responsible for blood and muscle being red. So then I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, because that's it, I've skipped a load. This guy, this Fauci guy, apparently, has got these patents for this GP120, this glycoprotein, which attacks the iron atom, you know, in the hemoglobin, that stops the oxygen intake into the lungs. So I'm like, what the fuck's that for? Apparently it's patented for use in aerosols and stuff. And personally, I've never wanted to buy into chemtrail conspiracies, because I thought to myself, you know, just like, why would they, you know, so many different things, like, yeah, again though, I've not pondered it since, yeah. So, yeah, and when I stopped even thinking about it, because when I first started awakening, I was staring at the sky and I'm like, look at this is chemtrails. Like, I'd never looked at the conspiracy, never heard anything, but I was like, this isn't normal, you know. They were doing X's all over the house and all that, and I was going through a very fragile time, you know. I'd just awakened, and every time I went outside, there were fucking big crosses of, you know, contrail over the house, and I was like, oh my fucking God. But anyway, when I'd sort of balanced and adjusted everything, I stopped buying into any of that, thinking to myself that why would they kill everybody, you know? If it's on, you know, if it's spraying on us, it's potential to spray on, you know, them as well, whoever they are. And so yeah, I stopped sort of thinking about it and not really noticed many. And I'm outside all the time. I'm looking at the sky all the time, and I've not seen any for ages. I'll see the odd one, but what I've seen in the last few days is quite a lot. And not today. I've seen a couple today. The clouds are so weird and beautiful there, and I'll do another video if anybody's interested, or I might attach it onto the end of this. But it looks like I'm in a prison cell, doesn't it? There's a microphone up there. Anyway, I'm so heightened, so tragic. It's like I've been quite chill for a week, but these last 3 days I've been like, holy shit, I saw 11/11 then. Calm down. My armpits are sweating. And I realise that this looks like 33, which everybody's scared of, isn't it? Even though it's the age Jesus died at, and the amount of vertebrae in our spine and so many other older, more sacred meanings. But anyway, interestingly enough, hemoglobin contains 0.33% of iron by weight, which I found interesting. But anyway, so I was thinking to myself, is it these iron atoms that could be different in rhesus negative people, you know? And without sounding fucking thick, you know, I'm sure somebody who's studied these things could tell me, and I'm hoping, you know, I'm asking. This is what I'm doing in this video, because I was saying yesterday to Mark, it's like, I've got so much I want to say, but my problem that halts me is that I don't always know what I'm saying, and I think that I have to understand it all before I speak shit, and it's like, no, I don't. I'm just talking to myself anyway. So, so I was thinking to myself, oh, I wonder if it's like the addition, you know, it's like most people think that, and by the way, I'm just pondering here, and it's not for any superiority complex, it's just ponders, you know, because I did that video about ponders, about the fact that O negative blood is free from all the add-ons, you know, so, and that being the universal blood, seemed to me that it's because it fitted, you know, into the others. It's the sort of yeah, I felt like it was the base, but anyway. And then I was pondering the AB, and so I went into this rabbit hole of plasma, not rabbit hole, a bit of research about plasma. This was a few months ago. And it was because one of the kid's dad's friends has got cystic fibrosis, and this is not because I was doing it following in my, you know, my higher self, my intuition. I realise this sounds batshit crazy, and I apologise. I'm so heightened. I've been outside in the sun a lot, and I'm not spoken for so long, and I've so wanted to do a video. My throat chakra's been blocked so much, and I've wanted to vomit. In fact, I did. I vomited this morning. I forgot about that. And my false tooth fell out. Oh, God. So anyway, I don't feel like vomiting now, but this is definitely verbal diarrhea. So, right. Oxygen binds reversibly to these iron atoms and is transported through the blood. Hemoglobin is the protein that makes blood red. Human oxyhemoglobin, that goes in, and then, sorry, that's not human, of course, we're all human. And then, you know, deoxyhemoglobin on the way out. And I was looking at this little thing, I was trying to figure it out, and I'm like, so this patent's supposed to be attacking the iron. I'm hearing people talking about other things, you know, just the attack on the sort of immune system, and it's interesting. And so this is tying into the rhesus negative shit that I've pondered. Fuck. seeing number sinks everywhere, you know, on the top of this. It's paint, by the way. I've not got some symbols. Fuck me. It's too late to do this again now. Calm down. So iron's important, and I'm wondering whether it's even more important if you have iron-based blood, or I'm wondering if it's even more important if you have rhesus negative blood. I was pondering whether the the iron atoms could have been the add-on to the rhesus negative creating the rhesus positive. Therefore, the rhesus positive is the iron-based blood, a hybrid of, so it's backwards round from the way that they portray it to us. It's like everybody's rhesus positive, da-da-da, along comes alien race, and it's like, when I've been looking into this, it really doesn't make sense, and you don't get any sort of any answers. So I've been pondering this shit for ages, and I came across a bit of research and a few different videos and comments that seemed to see, the pattern that I saw was that a lot of people with rhesus negative blood seem to have autoimmune diseases. So then I'm like, oh God, this can't be good for rhesus negative people, whether they're sort of resistant to viruses, certain viruses, or not, if it's something that's attacking the oxygen intake, and the immune system and everything. And so, regardless of blood types, I want to save us all. If there is some deadly plot to wipe us out, it's like, well, fuck you bastards. So anyway, so I was pondering that as a little aside, but when I'd popped down this little bit about plasma a few months ago, I'd found all this information about plasma products, what they're used for in pharmaceuticals and shit. Let me just see if I've got any notes that might help me. Okay, so basically oxygen has to be bound to the iron molecule to turn the oxygen into oxyhemoglobin. And if it's not bound into the iron molecule, it will turn into deoxyhemoglobin, which obviously is not good. Right, so I was looking into this shit ages ago, and I've got my old notes there, and I was looking at the pharmaceutical drugs made from plasma, which treat burns, bleeding conditions, and immune deficiencies, right? And I've recently heard, because apparently this is what Trump wants, isn't it? This is what everybody's going all giddy over. It's this new, either this malaria drug, which I've forgotten the name, hydroxychloroquine or something like that, which is a plasma-based drug, I think, a malaria drug, and so he's after that. But what all this testing is at the moment, these new treatments, apparently, it's all about this convalescent plasma treatment, plasma therapy for COVID-19 patients, which is all about getting the antibodies from somebody who's had the virus and not been affected or survived or, got better or whatever. And then it's transferring that into a recipient, so the antibodies that have fought off the virus can then go into somebody who's weaker and fight off the virus, right? But they can't do that with blood transfusions, obviously, because they need everybody to have a match, and everybody's fucking different. And this is always what boggles my mind. I'm like, pharmaceuticals, everything doesn't take into consideration blood types, and the more and more I look into it, the more I'm like, God knows what concoctions we're doing to our own bodies. I've actually, well, it was the kid's dad who was like, with all this shit going on, is like, probably a good time to, make sure our immune systems are a bit better. So we got a few different multivitamins and, minerals and things like that, and I got some copper supplements. But I've not felt that good, so I've stopped taking it today. I've only been, I think, the 2 micrograms or something, but I've been, it was 3rd or 4th day of having the copper as well as everything today, and I went outside and vomited and my tooth fell out. So yeah, I'm wondering whether, because maybe I have a high percentage of copper anyway, and I shouldn't overdo it, especially being O negative. I think O blood types, positive or negative, apparently have a higher level of copper and a lower level of iron. So anyway, this is all interesting to me, regardless of any conspiracies to kill us or any blood wars or any sort of attack on the blood or whatever. I want to protect everyone. I'm not just out here going, you know, are they trying to kill off rhesus negatives, or is it the fucking elite rhesus negatives trying to kill off the rhesus positives? You know, if that's true, which I'm sure, you know, I don't know. I think there's fucking dark people everywhere, and, you know, we can't. But anyway, there's so much knowledge that we are so ignorant to, all of us, you know, how things used to be, you know, and I'm particularly ignorant of a lot of it, so I'm doing my best here to try and get out what I'm trying to say. Right, so, right, fuck that off for a second. Right, so when I was looking at this information about pharmaceuticals made from plasma, I found out that plasma protein is in massive demand, and this was before the coronavirus when I was looking into this particular shit in this old notebook that I've written. So, you know, today's shit might not be the same, but I've written down here high demand, and a commonly used plasma product is called IVIG, which is immunoglobulin, right? And that specific plasma product is used to boost the immune system and prevent infection. So I'm like, well, that's the fucking thing, innit? That's what we need. But I don't know if this is the drug that, you know, so many rely on for, you know, things like lupus or any other sort of autoimmune diseases, or you know, things that impact your immune system as well as obviously everything else. And so the problem is that plasma is in high demand, and I was looking into a little bit more about that, and you know, how they separate out the proteins and the serum and stuff as well, and it's a big global market apparently, and they buy in bulk, and I noticed this one bit that I'd written down here. It said, interestingly, new replacement products and changing medical practices mean hospitals are transfusing less plasma. So I'm like, you know, God, I've been pondering so much. I was pondering whether AB negative people have some super plasma, you know, that's like absolutely full of, you know, the goods to like beat the shit out of any kind of this type of virus, or you know, because AB, and I didn't actually know this, but AB negative and AB positive are both the universal plasma donor. I thought it was just AB negative, like O negative are the universal blood donor. So anyway, so it's AB positive or negative that the plasma is universal for, which would be a match for anybody. So, but the problem is AB is so rare. It's the rarest, apart from rhesus null. It's the rarest blood group ever, and it's just really interesting. There's a film called AB negative recently at the moment. I know some people think Jesus may have been AB negative, and you know, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of fucking different stories, even within the stories themselves. So, who bloody knows? But anyway, and plasma it's got a high concentration of serotonin in. So it's amazing, obviously, to clot the blood as well. Anyway, I was looking at this convalescent plasma therapy that they're talking about now, and I went onto the NHS, the blood bank, fucking whatever it is, Red Cross, that's it, this morning, and I was looking at some information at the moment, you know, what they'd got up to do with any of this. Fuck me, where's my bastard notes? Ah, that was it. So the NHS England, I don't know what it's like over there, but I know that in America they do have a big plasma product market. But over here in the NHS, apparently we have FFP, which is fresh frozen plasma, which is rich in clotting factors called cryoprecipitate. Transfusions can help blood to clot and also replace dangerous substances in the patient's own plasma, so used for massive blood loss, liver failure or rare diseases. But plasma for this word's getting me, immunoglobulins. Why the fuck can't I say that word? Immunoglobulins. Right? Which are the fucking shit that you want in, basically. It's that IV. Where's it gone? I'm like some crazed bitch here with my notes. Immunoglobulins, that's it, I said it. The immunoglobulins. In the NHS England, it said on the, Red Cross that we do not work with these medicines, these plasma products, do not work with them over here. But then, when I clicked on the coronavirus update thing, it was saying, that we are starting collection of blood plasma from recovered COVID-19 patients. And, you go on the website and they're accepting donors and everything. Obviously, it's needed, isn't it? So there's this whole thing, because I know a lot of rhesus negative people feel like they're targeted. And, they get paranoid and all that. But then there's the other end of it, and they're like, no one's taking my fucking blood, You get people ringing you up wanting you to give blood and stuff like that, and you hear all the scary stories and all that, and you think, fuck that, But then the other end of the spectrum is, it's like, especially for some, like, O negative who can only receive O negative, it's like, well, if you don't do it, what happens if you fucking, you need a bit of help, I guess. So, I don't know. Personally, I don't fancy donating anything. I've just got an update here. Woman, 106, believed to be what? Hi, I got too giddy. I must have pressed the button and I was talking for like an extra 5 minutes. So, I'm going to attach this onto the last bit of shit that I spouted. But yeah, I was just feeling like, it's like this sort of... this need for plasma is going to get bigger, and I was just pondering so much shit. But also, what made me interested as well was that, again, this was from the NHS, Red Cross, or the blood shit, whatever it is, that the fresh frozen plasma they only take from male donations. And they contact the female because apparently, especially women who've been pregnant before, can develop antibodies that, while no longer danger to themselves, can prove life-threatening to to somebody else who's transfused with it. I need to burp, sorry. So I was like, well, that'll probably be the anti-D shot or the Rogam shot, that they're inject into pregnant people, or not. I've obviously got my conspiracy heading today. So So anyway, I'm going to attach Adrian Elisa's video about this potential attack on iron, and I'm going to attach a few of my older ponders onto this. I just want some help, really, it's like I'm looking for these answers, and I've been looking for ages, and I don't find what I need on Wikipedia or Google or anything, and it's like, and then on YouTube, again, I don't really I find the same about the rhesus negative and the rhesus positive blood, and, delving deeper into these things, I just don't find anything, and then so you're left with looking at videos on YouTube where we're all just, trying to figure shit out, and nobody really knows anything, and I love that. I keep coming back to that. Nobody knows. It's like, yeah, we don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to attach those videos, and I don't even know if I've made sense, but at least I've got it out of my head. I've been thinking for ages, So it's like, seems that plasma is essential. It's everywhere. It's the fourth state of matter, isn't it? It's solid, liquid, fucking gas, plasma. Like, apparently the universe is 99% made of plasma, apparently, unless I've just made that up. But I mean, it's something huge like that. And in the last few days, I don't know about you lot, it's been so fucking hyperdimensional, like high, like weirdness, you know. Like, I was walking in the woods yesterday and it looked like my shadow was glitching, you know, like shaking. Everything looked a bit digital and like pixely and just really, really strange. And yeah, I went to the shops this morning and I was laughing before I went, saying that I was going to take my speaker. I've got a really good speaker. And I was just going to stand there in the queue because it's like half an hour wait or whatever to get in the shop. And I was going to start playing that song, Whitney Houston, Higher Love. Ba, 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 and keep it hidden in my bag, you know, and just see if I could get the whole queue moving. I didn't take the speaker, but anyway, as I got there and I looked around, I was like, good job. Because everybody's got masks on and nobody's waving and smiling and looking at each other, and it's all very, you know, everybody's sort of patrolling and policing each other, and it's just the most disgusting sort of, you know, we all know what's going on, don't we? There's no point talking about it. That's why I've not been able to do a video. And I've had a really, really nice time. I'm enjoying myself, but while I'm watching the shit show going on, and there's been some heavy frequencies and densities, like, I've had quite a difficult last few days, really, because I felt like I've needed to look into this shit more and try and defrag my own mind. So if anybody knows, basically what I want to know is the composition of the hemoglobin in the rhesus negative any different to that of a rhesus positive? The only thing I could see was that the iron count was lower, but I don't know about the structure of it. Do we have 4 atom molecules like it seems to be, you know, which is, you know, people say it's sort of one, but in the smaller level it's 4 iron atoms that are attached to these 4 hemes in each structure of protein, the hemoglobin, you know. So yeah, so lots of shit. So I wanted to know that. I want to know about the way systems of rhesus negative, obviously. And this is like, it's not just to protect ourselves, myself being a rhesus negative, and you know, but it's also like to protect the rest of the world. It's like, because so many people do, listen to me, to protect the rest of the world. It's not that. I'm just like, I'm always saying, like I said in one of my older videos that I'll post down beneath, like, have we not got medical advancements? It's like they're just starting to get people for this convalescent plasma therapy, which obviously is because they want the people that have had the virus. But if the virus is not what we think it is, and potentially it is exosomes, you know, that are being secreted every time someone's a little bit poorly, you know, and it's being misidentified, then it's a different matter, isn't it? So it's like, I don't know where I was going, you know, I'm just thinking to myself, you know, it's just like, blood's important. Are they attacking the blood? You know, are they attacking the iron? Why would this Fauci guy have a patent for a glycoprotein, GP120, that attacks the iron atom that's used in aerosols, spraying, you know? And it's the iron atom that's used to assist oxygen transmission. It's just like, oh, everything's just so strange and dark, you know, and there's a lot of shit going on. Again, I think you dip yourself in and out of it. I was just listening to Magenta Pixie then, and she was talking about how crystal soul she feels are like very, very sensitive, and then like the indigos, you know, they're a bit more of a warrior, and she was saying that you will want to dig into this information, this, you know, uncovering the darkness that's going on, and like, I love a mystery, you know. I don't need to frighten myself along the way, you know. I think we've all learned lessons on how fragile perceptions can be, and I think we all know about energetics now, I think. And so it's like, let's just carry on seeing what's happening. Bloody dreams are weird as well, absolutely weird, but I'm loving it. It feels like it's ramping up to some beautiful rainbow crescendo, and I'm like, oh. So anyway, at least I've got that out of my fucking mouth, and I'll try and do some more. Another thing that was interesting me when I was looking at my old book as well is that I'd written down here, don't know what about, but I'd put games theory provides loopholes for power, and stigma is the weapon, and most people are too cowardice. The collective and the individual perceptions, and the stigma as the weapon makes the people too unable to speak up. And I wrote cynical use of game theory. And I think it was something to do with either Brett or Eric Weinstein that I was trying to comprehend at one point. But I've heard these certain words used at the moment. I'm like, what the fuck is their game theory? Or our game theory, what are our next moves, you know? I think collectively, it's such a wonderful time because I don't have any mates. I rang my only friend the other day and she didn't even pick the fucking phone up. So I was like, oh, well, that's it then. Just me. So anyway, yeah. But Mark's got some friends and some work contacts, and you know, through them he's been saying that lots of people are starting to get interested, and I'm sure it's through the bloody David Icke thing, which personally, you know, it's hard because I've seen so much about it. Obviously, I watched the video. And I was like, yeah, makes sense to me. I'd looked at some of the same stuff myself, you know. When I was umming and ahhing about my last video, it's because I'd found out the information, you know, about these 12 different people who were questioning the narrative and, you know, all the stuff about the exosomes and shit. Through that, who was it, Andrew fucking Kaufman or whatever it is, who's been passed around. But I'm so, you know, I'm just like, I never fully believe anything, so I'm just like, all right, I'll have a look at that, because loads of things still don't make sense. But so I feel again, it's almost like it feels like I don't want to get too embroiled because it seems a bit queuey for me, you know, all this. And I'm not disrespecting as well. I know a lot of people are into this queue business, and, you know, even Adrian Elise, who I'll post down below, you know, she's talking about Q, and I've not looked into it, so I shouldn't sniff it, but instinctively I'm like, it's sort of gamey distractions, and it kind of has always felt like that's what the 5G conspiracy was, but I'd never looked into it until recently. So I'm doing all this stuff now that I've never really wanted to do, and I'm just like, oh, you know, thinking of solutions, and you know, I'm just bashing around ideas, and, you know, everybody protect themselves, you know, regardless. It's like, it's a time to get healthier, innit? I've not had meat for months now, and I'm barely eating, to be honest. When I'm outside, I'm just like, I don't feel like I need to, but I'm not eating enough, and that's where I'm, you know, in a lot of tea and coffee and fags as well. So right, anyway, I'm gonna get off. Happy Wednesday. I wonder if anybody stayed around to listen to the end of this fucking bullshit. I've tried to get out what I'm trying to say, and it's not making sense to me, but I know it's going to get there eventually. It's the iron in the copper. So does anybody know anything about this? If you do, please comment, let me know, or link me to another video. I saw another 11:11 then. Blooming hell. Happy days. See you soon. Bye.